Yes, it's my pleasure to give a talk in this nice conference. I would like to express my special thanks to the organizer. Today I would like to talk about alternans and spiral breakup in a modified FitzHugh-Nagumo model of cardiac cell dynamics. And this is a joint work with Professor Okawa, Meiji University. I think the word alternans is little bit unfamiliar to some mathematicians maybe. So this alternans means actually the oscillation of pulse width. So it may be traveling wave pulse, or in the two-dimensional case a spiral wave pulse. So the oscillation of pulse width we mean alternans. So first I would like to introduce some background of this research. Then I would say something about fast and slow system. And since we are interested to say something about cardiac cell dynamics, so I would say something about heart, of course, and then I will introduce my mathematical model. Then numerical works in 1D and 2D case. In 1D we try to simulate or try to continue the periodic traveling wave, and we are trying to make the instability of periodic traveling wave and alternans. In 2D, since the spiral wave case is little bit complicated, so we tried initially about planar wave instability case. Then we find a spiral wave formation in our model, and alternans spiral breakup. So spiral breakup is the main interest in this research, and this work is mainly numerical work, so there is not a lot of mathematics like the other lecture in this conference. So the background of this work, the first qualitative mathematical model was introduced by Huskin and Haskell in 1952 for the propagation of action potentials on squares, and later modified Huskin-Haskell model, the Nobel introduced a new model for the cardiac cell dynamics. Then the ionic models like the Francisco D. Nobel, Lurundi model, F.H. Fenton model and Karma model. These ionic models are little bit complicated and time consuming from the computer simulations. So researchers always usually try to do some work by using PDE models. The most widely used FitzHugh-Nagumo model is most widely used PDE model in this case. And later a Karma 1993 and Alif Panfilov also introduced a model in 1996 for the cardiac cell dynamics, because FitzHugh-Nagumo model is not suitable actually for the cardiac cell dynamics. So motivated by Alif Panfilov model, we also introduce in this work a new FitzHugh-Nagumo model, modified FitzHugh-Nagumo model. Fast slow system, I think many mathematical ODE system like in mathematical physiology like this. So here epsilon is very small quantity which is time constant, and t is the slow time in this system. So if we scale t by t equal to epsilon tau, where tau is the fast time and epsilon is very small quantity, which is very small and greater than 0 but less than 1, then this system reduced to takes the form like this. Then finally, if we put the formal value of epsilon equal to 0, then system 1 and 2 takes the form like this. So here you see f equal to 0. That means the dynamics of this equation, this is the slow dynamics, and solution lies on the slow manifold or the critical manifold. And this is the fast dynamics, and here you see y equal to constant. So the dynamics of this equation taking as y constant is the fast dynamics. For example, this is the y equal to constant, but here b equal to constant. So this is fast dynamics, and the solution lie on this slow manifold is the slow dynamics, and this dynamics also slow, but this dynamics also fast because this is b equal to constant. So in this case, this is the null clients of this FitzHugh-Nagumo ODE system, and it has only one stable rest state. So when this A is the threshold in this model, so when a solution start less than threshold, then immediately it comes back to the resting state. But when a solution start from the greater than threshold, then after a long excursion it comes back to the resting state with fast and slow dynamics. So I would like to say something about heart. I think you know heart is a very powerful muscle in our body, and it has 4 procosta, like the atrium, left and right atrium, ventricles, left ventricles and right ventricles. So briefly I would like to say the main work of heart is to pump oxygen rich blood throughout the body and receive again poor oxygen blood to the body. So this pump the receive poor oxygen blood from the body, and with the help of lungs it reduce waste materials or carbon dioxide. Then again this rich oxygen blood circulate throughout the body. And can you imagine, in our body you have 5 to 6 liters blood, and every minute these blood circulate throughout the body 3 or 4 times. So, and we are interested for the dynamics of cardiac cells, but cardiac cells has 2 types of cardiac cells. Number 1, mucocyte or cardiac muscle cells, and number 2, cardiac pacemaker cells. But cardiac muscle cells is make up the atrium and ventricles, and pacemaker cells is mainly responsible for the beating of heart. So we are not interested for these types of cells. We are interested because these cells is responsible for the pumping blood throughout the body. And from this figure one can easily understand the dynamics of heart cell. This is the traveling wave, or somebody can say solitary pulse, and this is the normal heart wave in one-dimensional case, and this is the normal heart wave in 2D case, which is known as planar wave. But when heart is going to be malfunctioning, or when heart is not working properly, then this planar wave is going to produce a spiral wave in the heart. And in 1D, this is like periodic traveling wave. And this case is most deadly case for the patient. And this is the spiral breakup. When a spiral wave somehow is going to break up, then patient cannot die. And somehow from this, this is the initial stage of a heart disease, but not, of course, very small disease. So in this case, in the hospitals, usually doctor prescribe to the patients to put some electrical shocks, and which is very painful to the patient. So motivated by our interest is to find these types of wave propagation in by using our model, and finally to make a comments why this spiral wave is going to break up, because researcher is not still quite clear why this spiral wave is going to break up. So this is very important, I mean open research or open something. And I would say something about cardiac action potentials, because this is the electrical concentration of heart cells. So by using this is the action potential is a long short lasting event in which the electrical membrane potential of a cell rapidly rise and falls. So this stage we say stable stage, and in this stage all voltage gated sodium channel so all voltage gated channels are closed, but when a stimulus comes and it makes the membrane potential go above the threshold like this, then sodium channels is going to be open. Usually sodium lies outside of a cell and potassium lies inside the cell. So when sodium channel is going to be open, then a lot of sodium channels is going to inside the cell, and in this case we get an action potentials, or we say it is rapid depolarization. But within 0.1 seconds this sodium channel is going to be closed. 0.1 microseconds, sorry. When sodium channel is going to closed, immediately the potassium channel and calcium channel is going to be open, and potassium channel, since potassium channel lie inside the cell, so potassium is going to out of cell and calcium is going to inside cell, and in this case we get a plateau region like this. Sodium channel close, potassium out and calcium in. But in this stage, when calcium channel is going to be closed, then more potassium is going to out and we get a rapid repolarization, and finally it comes to the resting state again. So yes, this is the main difference between the action potentials of a cardiac cell and the other cells. Even cardiac pacemaker cells also don't have these types of plateau region. So for this plateau region, for these types of plateau region in cardiac action potentials, we need to modify FitzHugh-Nagumo model, because FitzHugh-Nagumo model is not able to produce these types of plateau region. And this medium is called excitable media, because we know a system which has only one stable rest state is called excitable media. It cannot be bistable or something like this. It should be always monostable. So like the action of a nerve cell B is a reaction, predator-prey model of population dynamics, cardiac cells, these are the excitable media. So this is our modified model, and this is the FitzHugh-Nagumo model, the null clines of original FitzHugh-Nagumo model. We are not changing the this cubic null cline in our model, but we are changing the V null cline in our model. That means in our model U null cline is same like the original model, but we change this V null cline. Why? Because we want to make the propagation of solution more slow in this branch. Of course, in the original FitzHugh-Nagumo model, the propagation is slow in this branch and in this branch. But we are interested to make more slow in this branch so that it can produce the plateau region. And the system is going to be more excitable. And here U is fast activator or excitable variable, and B is slow inhibitor or recovery variable. And B, this parameter B is very important in our model, and we consider B as a bifurcation parameter in this in our simulation study, because B is mainly responsible to make gaps between two nuclei at the right branch. If B equal to 1, then this two nuclei is going to intersect in this point. So we are interested to for the bigger value of E. Of course, it can be very close to the B, and so if B is very closed, then the propagation of solution is going to be more slow, and for the greater value of B, then propagation will be free, or we can control the solution propagation by controlling this value of this parameter. So as I already told you, why we need to modify FitzHugh-Nagumo model for the cardiac cell dynamics. It's because of this plateau region, and this region is absent in the FitzHugh-Nagumo model, so we need to modify it for the propagation of cardiac cells. And first we are trying to determine the existence of traveling wave in our model. So by putting this traveling wave coordinator, our system is going to be like this ODE system, and if you reduce to the first order, then we get 4-dimensional ODE system. And by using this 4-dimensional ODE system, and by using bifurcation software auto, we get this bifurcation diagram, and this is also bifurcation diagram. But this is the speed as a function of period. So this figure also known as dispersion relation, and this is a saddle node bifurcation or fold bifurcation, and this is the slow branch or slow traveling wave in this branch, and in this branch we say this is the stable branch of solution or fast traveling wave, and this is the unstable branch of solution, and this is actually speed and amplitude or L2 norm for the solution propagation. And actually we are trying to say more about the bifurcation for the propagation of periodic traveling wave. So for that reason we try to simulate our PDE system, and for the numerical investigation of PDE system, we use a pulse train or wave train with two pulses, considering B as a parameter. So we see when B is up to 1.0343, then the width of pulse is constant. I mean the width of this pulse and this pulse is equal. But when we further decrease the value of B, then the pulse structure is going to be oscillate, and this for this case, for example, this is the maximum width like this, and this width is this minimum width. So we get a parabolic shape, and we see that the stable solution branch is going to be unstable by a Hopf bifurcation. So I want to see the movies of simulation result of this traveling wave. This is the periodic travelling wave, there is no oscillation of pulse width, and in this case B equals 1.04, that means before bifurcation. But for after bifurcation, what will happen? You see, after the bifurcation point, the pulse structure is going to be oscillate. So this bigger width, maximum, bigger, maximum, and it's propagated like this. Oscillating pattern occur after the bifurcation point. So in this case we consider the system size L equal to 50. So we are interested to see what happened for the greater system size. And what is L? L is the system size or period of the wave. And this figure should be clear that before bifurcation the wave structure is stable, the pulse width is constant, but after bifurcation it oscillating for the previous system size. And this is also the time sequence for the two pulse, and when one pulse is going to be minimized, other one is going to be maximized. So we say this oscillating behavior, we say alternans, or oscillation of pulse width. So here we use little bit smaller system size, but we use the same initial condition. That means whether the system size is 25, but we use here one pulse, not two pulse. So the initial condition is same, but system size is half, and the bifurcation point is 1.03. That means before it was 1.0343, now it is 1.03. So that means system size, bifurcation point also depends on system size in our model. And in this case we see that decreasing, if you decrease the value of B further and further, the width of pulse, the travelling pulse width is going to be increased. This shaded region is the width of wave pulse, and you see B equal to 1.1. when we put 1.05, then the width is greater, is bigger comparing to this slide, and further bigger. But these three slides is before bifurcation, and after bifurcation it's oscillating, but the pulse width also increasing and decreasing, because this is oscillatory pattern. But the most important thing for this parameter value 1.02, in this case the wave structure is propagation failure occur, or the wave structure is going to be disappear after some times. So this parameter value is important, and we are trying to relate this value to the two-dimensional case. And this is also same work, but the system size is high. So if L equal to 200, that means for 50 it was 2 pulse. So for the system size 200, the pulse should be 8. So we use here 8 pulses, and we get the stable travelling wave and the oscillatory pattern of periodic travelling wave solution. And the bifurcation point is also little bit changed in this case. This slide will show the front-back interaction of pulse width. We see when the back of a smaller width pulse and the front of bigger width pulse is larger than this slide. Here it is bigger than this. In this case we use periodic boundary condition. So this and this means one pulse, bigger width pulse, this pulse. This pulse means this one and this one. So because they are very close to each other, for that reason the pulse structure is going to be collapsed in this case. And finally this one pulse is like a pair of pulses, and finally it disappear. And the smaller width pulse is going to be bigger width pulse, and the periodicity of this behavior of solution we observe. And for another system size we also find the same behavior of solutions. Suppose here L equal to 100 and L equal to 200. This is the numerical results in 2D for the planar wave. You see, this is the stable planar wave, and when we are very close to the bifurcation and we use a small perturbation with this small stable planar wave, then a dance is grow in this place. In this case we use periodic boundary condition. So, and the solution propagates to the negative x direction. So a dance is grow. This is the time sequence of solution. So, and it's going to be bigger and bigger, and finally it produces the tip of a spiral. And this solution behavior is grow throughout the medium, and it continue for a very long time. So and these types of instability we say transverse instability of a stable planar wave. And the parameter settings is same like the one dimensional case. So in this research we consider B as a free parameter, but other parameters are constant. And this slide shows the stable spiral pattern for our model. When B is 1.05, that means when B is before bifurcation. And we use Neumann boundary condition in this case, and our scheme is ADI scheme, because ADI scheme is suitable for the reaction diffusion system. And this I don't know, red or which color, this blue region is the resting state of the medium, and this reddish color or brown maybe is the excitable state of the medium. And in this case, like the traveling wave pulses, we observe that this is the initial data like before previous slides, and when we decrease B, the width of spiral pulse also increase like the traveling wave pulses. For the decreasing of E, the traveling wave pulse also increase, and in this case also, if for the decreasing of B, the pulse width is increasing. And in this case, since it is after the bifurcation, so oscillatory pattern is occur. That means this is the bigger width and smaller width, bigger width pulse, smaller width, bigger and smaller. But we don't need to consider near the tip, because near the tip the trajectory is little bit complicated. So we need to, in this case research, we just consider near the boundary. And as I told before, the cardiac cell dynamics is the spiral wave formation, and finally most deadly case is spiral breakup. So we also observe spiral breakup in our model. For this parameter value of B, when B equal to 1.015, and this is the time sequence of the solution. This one, maybe this one, and this one, this one, this figure. And in this case we also use Neumann boundary condition, and this figure may be this one, and finally the system is going to be chaotic like this. We also test the spiral breakup for another initial data, because sometimes initial condition is responsible for the producing of a spiral breakup. So we are trying to observe what happens if we use another initial data, and the parameter settings is same. In this case, we also observe the